Hey guys, welcome back, another Yoganuary. So yes, there is a lot going on with this as my background and this snazzy outfit on. I realise it might be a little bit of an eye shock to you guys, but I can't resist this. It's my new set from Sweaty Betty and it's supposed to be like for when I go to Finland in the cold weather, but it's cold enough here, so I am just like loving it. Anyway, let's get on with why you came to watch this video. This is probably my most requested video ever. This and inversions. So everyone wants to know about the splits, how to get into the splits, how to train for the splits, can they do the splits, splits. Not a good word for someone with a slight lisp like me. So first of all, I want to start by saying, and this is like the sad truth, not everyone will be able to do the splits. Now, I used to think that with enough training and enough stretching and dedication and focus and practice that everyone could do the splits, but it's just not true. We have different joints, we have different bones, and unfortunately, no matter how much you stretch your muscles, it may be that your hip socket just won't allow for it. So as an example, I have a very, very shallow hip socket joint. So you've got to imagine your hip is a ball and socket, right? And a lot of people are like this. You've got your socket and you've got your ball and it goes in there and it moves around. So there's only a certain amount of movement that can happen within that before you start grating bone on bone. And that's kind of when you get that kind of pinching feeling, you're like, okay, I can't go any further. So that is your bone stopping you. That's not you needing to stretch a bit more. That's your bone saying, unless you're going to keep grinding me down, you're not getting into this position. I have a very shallow hip socket. So mine's like this. It's just how I was born. It's how I was formed. It's how I was made. I am just like that. So even if I didn't have flexible hamstrings, so I'm quite lucky in that I say I'm lucky, I've worked really hard, I've been a gymnast and a dancer, so I have nice sort of, stretchy hamstrings. Even if I didn't have those, so even with my leg bent, my range of motion in my hip is still huge. So it was a given that with a bit of stretching, I would get into the splits. You're not necessarily going to be able to tell, by the way, by just lying down and having a feel around. You might not instantly know whether or not it's for you. So naturally, we're gonna give some practicing a go, give some stretching a go. And this video isn't to knock you down or to make you feel like you can't do anything, but sometimes we just have to accept that our bodies can't do certain things. And that sucks, but then there's other things that we can do. A lot of people look at me and they're like, oh my gosh, I wish I was that bendy, I wish I was that flexible. But with all of these, shallow joints and bendiness, with all of that actually comes a flip side where I'm actually prone to injury because my ligaments are all very lax. I'm very clumsy. I've had a knee reconstruction. I've got numerous knee issues, and so that is the kind of flip side of all the pretty poses. So it's important to remember that and to accept your body and to accept that splits might not be for you, but it might. So let's have a look at some of the stretches that I would normally do to get into splits. So coming to a low lunge. Now this is a stretch that I've been doing since I was a gymnast. So since I was like 5 years old, and it goes into my yoga flows. I actually think it was in yesterday's yoga flow. Oh yes, because I was preparing you for today. How clever of me. So just sinking into the hip flexors. So I'm actually going to switch legs so that I can sort of show you. So you're going to be feeling it all around here, all down here as well. And when I was younger, in gymnastics, it was all very much like, let's pulse there and get a lot lower. it's really, really not going to do anything. What you want to do is stay there and breathe. So every time, well, you know when you're breathing properly, because every time that deep breath goes in, the stretch gets a little bit deeper and you feel it a little bit more. So I go from here, from a low lunge. I, by the way, have my toes tucked under because of knee issues. You can totally have them flat like that. Still does the same thing, it's just that for me it's more comfortable like this. So from here, I would then come back into a half split. So we're working now on the hamstring, and I would then just melt forwards into that. Again, using the breath to get me there, so I'm really feeling it. And I would go between the two, seeing if I get a little bit deeper, but not just kind of rocking really quickly, not just coming forwards and backwards and forwards. You want to really stay there. I would say between maybe 5 and 10 breaths if you're just working on like a splits practice. Stay there for sort of 5 and 10 breaths and then go back. So let's switch legs. Let's come into the low lunge. And then once you've done a good round of breaths, we're then going to come back and stretch out that hamstring. So really work deeply into that. So there are loads of ways of working on the hamstrings. Any form of forward fold is going to be great for it. One I particularly like is bringing the leg back. So you can then work it back by back a little bit each time. So you might start here with your forward fold. And then after a few practices, you then might be able to open those hips a bit and work it a bit further back and then still coming into a forward fold. I fully appreciate you're looking at this video and I'm down here, and you may not be. I'm just showing it as it is in my body, but everyone's bodies are different, as I've just said. So yours might be here and here, but it's about trying, right? It's about giving it a go and seeing how far we get. Really working through those hamstrings. Other hip openers for splits is frog. So you guys may have seen frog before in my videos. So that you're opening out through the groin and you're coming down onto the floor. Again, you might be up on the elbows, you might be up here thinking, gosh no. I know that a lot of people feel like that when I put them into frog. They're like, why? And I'm like, do it. It actually feels really good after a while. And if you're doing more of a yin practice, then stay in frog for like 5 minutes and oh my gosh, you will notice the difference. Yin is extremely good for mobility practice and flexibility. It's brilliant for, you know, things like if you're going to come into caterpillar and just melt down for 3 to 4 minutes, that's really going to work on opening up the hamstrings. So once you've done all of your stretches and your exercises on the hips and the hamstrings, you can then start maybe edging into the splits. What I would recommend getting are 2 blocks. Mine are upstairs from where I meditated earlier and I'm not going to get them. So 2 yoga blocks and have them either side of you. Actually, I'm going to go and get them. 1 minute. So I have my blocks and I'm going to put them either side. So these are going to be an arm extension for you. If you're really high up, you could put them this way. Just be careful if they're this way because obviously you've got less stability than when it's down here. So now that you've got this lengthened arm, you can work on coming forward with those legs, the back leg, and then maybe dropping down over time. It's going to take time and dedication. And then hopefully, maybe, possibly, maybe not, coming down into splits. And then once we're in our splits, there's numerous things that we can do. We can take forward bends, backward bends, snazzy little leg up. One of my favourites when I'm in splits, because it works on getting my hips forward, is inhaling up and then exhaling and taking a twist. So I've got my body the whole way around the other side. And then unraveling, coming up. Maybe just taking a little child's pose, squeezing everything in. You don't want to overdo it. This is the important thing as well. Before you go into, like I've just shown you the stretches that I would do, make sure you do those first. Don't come to this stage first, because if your hip flexors and your hamstrings aren't warmed up, then this is going to be serious injury zone. So you need to be really careful here. So again, lifting up, using the blocks as an arm extension, and then gradually over time, maybe having the capacity in the muscles to be able to come the whole way around. Again, options, my favorite twist, maybe forwards, maybe backwards, and snazzy little things like that. Your frog is also going to help you with your box splits or your Chinese splits. Other things like happy baby. So coming here, and taking the moment here, maybe rocking, maybe trying to straighten out the legs. There are so many options and stretches that you can do for your for opening the hips and the hamstrings. You just need to understand that it's not going to come really quickly. You're not going to do this video and find yourself in splits. Well, you might actually, if you've never tried before and you're just naturally very flexible. Go you. But the majority of us aren't just going to practice a couple of times and get into splits. It's going to take a little while. So, but if you really, really want to do it, then these are the ways that I learned. So frog was amazing. I mean, when I was a gymnast, and don't try this at home, but when I was a gymnast, we would lay in frog. We'd be like this, and then my coach would come and sit on my bum, or if there were loads of us doing it, she'd come and put springboards. Like if you've ever done gymnastics, you know what a springboard is. It's like a massive wooden thing with springs in it, especially the old school ones. They're not quite as like streamlined as they are now, the ones that you see in the Olympics. And she'd just put that on your bum and it would be like, help me. So don't do that though. That was just me telling a story. But yeah, I hope this video has been interesting for you. If you have any questions, please do comment below. And I wish you all the luck on your quest for splits. Add that kind of forward, like we put in yesterday's flow. Hopefully you guys would have done that. If you haven't done yesterday's flow, definitely do it, because that forwards and backwards, that slow movement from the lunge to the half split will really help you on your stretches. So thank you for watching. I apologise for this clothing cloth situation that might be hurting your eyes. I'm quite tired. I think I might be getting a little bit hyper. Right, thank you for watching, and I will see you in tomorrow's Yoganuary. Bye bye.